Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. In the case of the U.S. versus Robert Sylvester Kelly, the jury is deliberating the said information pertaining to evidence in this trial, and right now it has been said that they need additional information pertaining to the evidence in this said trial. And I will play commentary from BNC. And if you need verification, please go over to the queue in YouTube for the said information.
Questions, and they requested some exhibits here. Now, just to name a few of the things they requested, they wanted to see a floor plan for Laramie Street. Laramie Street is where an old recording studio by the name of Chicago Tracks once stood. It is where R. Kelly recorded many of his hit songs. It's also where it is alleged he hosted several of his underage girlfriends at that location. Now, one of the women who was not underage, who did visit R. Kelly at that address, was a woman who went by the name of Sonia. She had flew from Salt Lake City, Utah to Chicago to do a radio interview with R. Kelly, but she testified she ended up being locked in a room for several days without food and water. However, the defense made the point during closing arguments that while Sonia was inside of her room, she also had a cell phone, and that she made several calls to family members and friends, but she never made a call to the police to say that she had been locked inside of her room. Well, the jurors have now requested a full transcript of Sonia's testimony along with that floor plan for Laramie Street. Another request they had was for the testimony of a underage accuser who went by the name of Jane. Jane was a 17-year-old girl who left her home in Orlando, Florida to be with R. Kelly in Chicago with her parents' permission. She was an aspiring singer and dancer, but prosecutors say instead R. Kelly groomed Jane to become one of his underage girlfriends, and they carried a sexual relationship on for quite some time. Now, they also want to see a letter that Jane wrote to her brother, and in that letter, supposedly Jane wrote several things that her parents had been lying to her, that her parents were actually prostituting her to R. Kelly for money, but Jane testified she did not want to write that letter on her own, but rather R. Kelly made her write that letter as a form of protection, and instead she says the letter never made it to her brother. Instead, it went to R. Kelly's attorney's office. So again, it would seem as if the jurors are taking their responsibilities very serious by asking a lot of questions, and they still, it seems like they have a long way to go before they can reach a consensus.
Yeah, Dre, let alone that when the jurors are asking questions like this, it always causes some consternation for the defense and the prosecution. Have you heard any indication from them at all about how they're viewing the jurors' questions?
No, they've pretty much been quiet since the deliberations started earlier today. We've only seen R. Kelly's defense team, or at least two of the members of his defense team, leaving the courthouse and going to lunch. But for the most part, they have remained out of view of the cameras and reporters who are following the story, and all of us are now on verdict watch. But they're keeping a pretty low profile. But again, it is an indication when you have jurors asking questions and requesting exhibits. It's showing they are clearly having discussions about the obligation they have to live up to, and that is ultimately determining if R. Kelly is guilty or innocent, or perhaps they won't be able to reach a consensus and it becomes a hung jury.
Reporting from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you, Dre. You can stay with BNC when R. Kelly's verdict is in. We will have live, complete coverage of the R. Kelly verdict. You can watch it all here across all BNC platforms.
Women officially began their...
That is said information from BNC. If you need verification for the said information, basically, the jurors are asking questions. They're wanting to see certain things pertaining to this case, and I figured that it would be more witnesses for the defense. I assume that the defense would have more witnesses, but as you see, they did not, and they rested very early on. They started giving their commentary on Monday, right after the prosecution rested, and before you know it, they were they were done by what, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's a very interesting dynamic, because here's a man who's saying, I've done nothing wrong. These women are groupies. They wanted this. They wanted to be in my company. They wanted my money. Yeah. This is what the defense is saying on behalf of Robert Sylvester Kelly. Robert Kelly never testified. He was asked if he would like to testify, and he told the judge that he did not. And I'm sure many people are probably curious to why not, but most of us know he could not hang. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no way Robert Kelly could have ever testified. He would not have done well. And I think we all know that. That's the said information from BNC. If you need verification for the said information, please go into your YouTube queue and get the said video for this commentary. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what these 12 members are going to decide. But no matter what the decision is that they make pertaining to the verdict, Robert Kelly is facing other charges in Chicago and Minnesota. So no matter what these people render in this said trial, he is still going to have to face charges in a Chicago court and the state of Minnesota. And I think in the end, he will be downtrodden, because you're talking about going from courthouse to courthouse, state to state, and common sense would tell you that this would take a toll on anyone. But what we have to also remember is that this is the road that Robert Kelly chose by bedding these women, children. And he had to have known that there would be repercussions, because the signing of letters and this and that is suspect. How is it that all these different women have signed letters saying they did this, they took this, they stole from him? It's not even logical that anyone would sign these documents unless they were under duress or some type of fancy type sick feeling for this man. It's obvious that these women were just as sick as Robert Kelly. They fell for the lies just to be in his company. And in the end, no matter what you think as far as what they got in exchange for the abuse and the escapades with different people, same sex, and other things that were told in court, of bodily fluids, there's no way in hell you could think they got an even exchange. Because what do they have now, if you do believe that? What do they have now? And all the cohorts that rode the ride for 30 plus years, what do they have in exchange for riding the ride? And what does Robert Kelly have for orchestrating the ride at this very moment? Nothing. His life lies in the balance of 12 random strangers deciding if he is innocent or guilty of the said charges. He can't feel too good right now, because like I said, no matter what they decide, he still has to face court in 2 other jurisdictions. That is the said information. BNC is the source. If you want to donate to the channel and the dream of everyday shenanigans, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. I will be bringing you back-to-back updates pertaining to storylines that I have discussed on the network. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.